Guitar design. What's best? Ergonomics. So, it's taken me a long time to make this video because I wasn't quite sure yet what I wanted to say. I mean, there are obvious things to say. You know, neck dive, all that kind of stuff. Comfort, playability, smooth fret ends, rolled fretboard edges, blah 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 blah. But I hadn't really and I didn't make a laundry list or anything like that. So these are just going to be my thoughts. Let me come over here so that we can look at a guitar. Alright, so what do you need in ergonomics? Well, you need the guitar. Let's turn this thing around like you're looking at the player. Okay, so you need the guitar to sit at the right angle for playing, which is going to be like neck up by about 30 degrees, sort of like you see it here. And you want it to be that way whether you're seated or standing. And so how do you accomplish that? Well, that's going to be a combination of the shape of the body and how it uses the player's body to support the guitar, and the balance of the guitar between the headstock and the weight of the body. Then when you're standing, you want it at about 30-degree angle for playing. You know, if you're doing the classical thing, you're going to want it probably kicked up more about like that. Say if the player was going this way, then you'd want it at almost a 45. But yeah, for most electrics, you're going to be closer to the 30-degree angle. So, right, so that's the most important thing and you don't want it to neck dive on you. So that comes down to your balance, where it's supported by the body. You know, basically the location of the leg cutouts, and for when you're seated. Now, when you're standing, it's all about the end of the strap locations, as far as like this goes, and it's a combination of the location of the strap buttons and the balance of the guitar. I mean, this guitar is pretty evenly balanced front to tail wise, so it's relatively easy to keep under control. It doesn't need a whole lot of weight at either end. It doesn't need a whole lot of compensation for having a whole lot of weight at either end. So it's pretty nice in that respect. So that takes care of your angle. Now what you want to do is, so how do you actually use these things in order to influence the way the thing sits or hangs? You want to put your leg cut out so that the combination of your leg cut out is more or less going to act as your fulcrum point, and then you've got your weight of your headstock versus the weight of your body, as far as like that balancing it on the knee trick goes. Here, I've found that really the easiest thing to do is just basically you put a stick across your legs, kind of like this, right? And then you just mount a guitar to a stick at the right angle, and you're done. And then the stick means that the guitar is going to be totally supported when you're seated. When you're standing, then your strap lock points are going to control how it hangs. That combined with the balance. Moving them. Really, it's you can move them back and forth this way, and it'll change where the guitar is in relation to your body more than anything. But it's going to be more the balance of the guitar itself that's going to determine whether you get that 30-degree angle or not. You can, you can move this point this way and that in order to try to influence that. You can move this point this way and that in order to try to influence getting it to hang at 30 degrees. If we take a look at this thing here, I got to be careful. Apparently the mic on this is on the end of the phone, and if I grab it the wrong way I can cover the mic and all of a sudden you can't hear me. So come on, guitar, turn around. No, don't bang into stuff, turn around. Okay, so this is actually not a very good example right here at the moment. This thing's got a bit of a neck dive, the way it's set up at this moment. Not too bad, but yeah, it's definitely feeling, you see, you should be able to go like that, and this should be at relatively 30-degree angle. As you can see, this thing's hanging almost flat, which means it's got too much weight here and not enough weight there, but also, again, it's slipping over my thumb. But it does have a tendency to want to go this way. So this thing suffers from a bit of neck dive. Now, if I moved all the straps up towards the neck some, if I move that strap point back this way and move this strap point back this way some, then that would help that, because the whole guitar would be suspended. This is so hard to do with. It would be suspended from here, and then from like here at the back, someplace back here at the back, and then this thing would be way up here, so it would be like lifting the guitar from here, and that would make it hang much better. So you can like shift those, and that's going to correct where the center of weight is versus where your center of your hanging point, the point that you're hanging from when you're hanging off the strap. Let me get the strap up here. I'm sure this video is going to look totally atrocious. But yeah, okay, so my thumb is the point that you're hanging this thing off of. Pretend you had a nail on the wall. You really, ideally, you want the thing to naturally just hang right about there. But this, of course, doesn't. It wants to slip a little bit towards the downside. So that's the spinning it left and right, so when looking at it from the front. Now the other big thing as far as like rotational degrees of freedom go is, as you can see, this one has this tendency to naturally hang so that it tilts away from the player, and that's not a good thing. But then again, you've got these bars back here which will lean up against your body, and so it's all right. And that's, yeah, so okay, so that's the next thing is you've got rotation in this direction, and then you've got how the guitar is tilted, whether it's tilted towards the player, whether it's tilted back towards the player, or whether it's kind of tilted away from the player. And obviously you don't want it tilted away from the player. Ideally it's going to be like straight or maybe slightly towards the player. Personal preference kind of thing there. And once again, it's going to be the shape of the body and the way the thing hangs on the strap, or where the carve is on the leg, and the balance of the guitar this time front to back instead of headstock to tail. So it would be like, if you take this thing, it looks like it tends to be a little front heavy, which is the reason why on a strap it tends to hang this way instead of being vertical. So yeah, that's what's going on. And then as far as like position, and then your third degree of rotational freedom is how how far you have rotated around, so how far away the headstock is from the player for comfort for their left arm or right, if you're talking a left-handed player. As far as like translational, you've got how high it is, you've got how far left and right, and you've got how close it is to the player. Most all these are going to be controlled once again by the shape of the body more than anything. Like you can see here, this has this stand that gets the strings up high enough off of the legs of the player when they're sitting. Obviously, you adjust your strap length in order to adjust the height of the guitar when you're playing standing. For left versus right, the location of the leg cutout determines it when you're sitting, and the location left versus right for the strap locks or strap buttons determines it when you're standing. For forward versus back, it's more or less how thick the guitar is and whether it's got belly curves and stuff like that. So let's see, that was up and down, left and right, yeah, forward and back. Yeah, so that's everything. That's more or less how you control where the guitar sits in relation to the player. And then the other aspect of ergonomics is making it comfortable. That's going to get it position-wise as comfortable as possible, hopefully. And then playing-wise, you want the whole thing to be comfortable. You want the whole thing to be smooth. You want rolled fretboard edges. You want nice, rounded, smooth fret ends. You want no sharp anything, anywhere on the guitar, really. You don't want anything to be sharp. Nothing's going to be sharp. It's all been, sanded down and smooth. You want it all to be... You want the whole guitar to be just as silky smooth as a baby's bottom, is what it boils down to. Whatever it takes to achieve that. And that's going to make because, Ben Crow, Crimson Guitars, texture is a big thing. And yeah, silky smooth as a baby's bottom. That's a really great texture for a guitar. You put that on the back of a neck, and I don't think you'll have any player in the world complain about it. So there you go. And if you can put it on the back of a neck and no player complains about it, you know it's a good finish. All right, so yeah, okay. Let's see, what else do you have? Ergonomics access. You want, when you're doing tuning keys and stuff, you want the stuff so that you're not going to bump into it when you're playing or anything. That can be an issue with tail tuner types that use conventional keys. You want obviously neck profile is going to be a huge thing, and that's a very personal thing. I've done the diagonal thing like a Strandberg. It's Steinberger and Strandberg, yeah. So I've done the diagonal. Actually, the diagonal goes. Which way does the diagonal go here? It's fat on the bass side at the neck. So yeah, it goes from the diagonal goes from here. The spine on a Strandberg goes from here to here in a diagonal form, and I actually took a neck and modded it to make it like that. And yeah, there's something to be said about it, but this actually gives you less material on average in your hand, which makes it even smoother and faster. Theirs is a kind of faceted design, rounded faceted thing, which has a certain chunkiness to it, you might say. But, so ergonomics, you want everything smooth. Neck profile, big issue. Neck thickness, big issue. Different people have different hands and are comfortable with different things. That's all I'm going to say. As far as, in general, what's best, thinner's better. In general, less stuff in the way is better. And that's the reason why I tend to favor this kind of a profile these days. It's less stuff in the way, and it's about as thin as you can go. I mean, I've burned through a few. This is a good example of one that's just about perfect. And I think this one clocks in at like 21 millimeters, maybe 22, 20, 20, between, yeah, that's probably 20. Shoot, it might even be 19 at some places. But anyway, so, yeah. Basically, thin necks are going to be, in general, they're going to be something you can tend to work with faster. But a lot of this has to do with the size of your hands, too. So, you really got to take it, these kind of judgments with all. I suppose you could say that all other things being equal, a thinner neck is going to be it's going to give you better reach around. I mean, on this thing, it's like, oh my God, I can almost wrap my fingers around this guitar twice. There's so little neck in my hand. It's so cool. So yeah, there you go. Into that discussion. The less material in the cross-sectional profile, the easier it is to wrap your hand around it, which means it's easier to get at stuff. So, bottom line, there it is. And this seems to be, I mean, you can go less than this if you start getting into carbon fiber reinforcement and stuff like that. But for just like, straight wooden truss rod kind of traditional quote unquote traditional construction, this seems to be about as radical a profile as you can go. Scalloped, I've kind of like where it would be scalloped here, but it really doesn't give you a good feel. You want a convex, not a concave, I think. But somebody might want to go out and scallop one. Actually, I think Ben Crow tried it on a guitar and he didn't like it. So there you go. Let's see what else we got. Neck shape. In general, the form follows function on the body shape. A lot of Spanish guitars. The Spanish electric guitar evolved from the acoustic guitar. There's some acoustics up there, and that's the reason why they're shaped the way they are instead of being shaped like this thing or where my Traveler is. I've got a Traveler around here somewhere. And let's see, there's a Steinberger Spirit over there, and there's a Steinberger Freedom there, and that's another one of my sticks and bars, stick and V-bar, minimalist body V-bar, whatever you want to call it. I have yet to come up with a good name, so. But yeah, it's another one of these kind of guitars. That one here. That one really actually is like the closest to my Guitar Design What's Best guitar. Maybe I should have it over here. Let me grab it. This is the X4. At the moment it's in the shop. I'm going to put a new body on it because only 2 of the 4 screws for the Steinberger bridge actually fit on this body because the body's a little on the short side. So, yeah, see right there. That's where both of the screws, neither of these screws, basically the back end of the bridge is not attached to anything. And as you can see, baby is starting to pull up ever so slightly there. So, yeah, it's time to fab up a new piece of wood for this thing. A new body piece. I hope I can find a pretty piece like that. Hard to believe that's just plywood, but yeah, fab up a new one and extend it out a couple more inches, whatever, so I can get those back screws in. But yeah, this is really very close from all points of view. I mean, it's got, okay, yeah. So back to the balance issue. You really can't beat it. A Nohead stock. It's just night and day. It's got the weight distribution advantage all over a regular conventional guitar. So yeah, I mean, you know, you can bitch and moan you don't like the way they look, but hey, you know, wake up and smell the coffee. What can I say? I was watching a thing with Guitar Max, and he was interviewing Gus G, and they were talking about how they didn't see why the industry should not have why the technology hasn't advanced more than it has in the last 50 years or 100 years or whatever it's been now. So yeah, 50, 75 years. So guitar's been around a while, and yeah, I'm sure there are cool things being done out there. You know, I believe it's Fishman with their little coil thingies in their pickups and their multiple voicings. That's